Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. Control over your life. Now, as I've stated, I'm pro power. And, I'll be talking about power as much as I'm talking about getting women or something like that, probably more. Because as I'll discuss in my next podcast, you got power, you get women. And I'll explain what that really is, right? A lot of people don't really realize that, what's going on there, right? But power for me is really control over your life. Now, for those who might have heard, my infamous how Rom learned the game thing, I told you I was in a situation where, social services had to remove me and my sister from my mother's custody. And the nature of the situation, I was a 10-year-old child, and I felt powerless. And I said at that moment, I would never feel powerless again, And I don't like that feeling. And see, if you really think about it, right? Now, I know somebody will try to get technical and say, well, the only people who really have power are those people way at the top, the 1%. And yeah, they do. But any individual has power if they have the ability to make a choice that's in their own best interest. Even if I were to deal with like this, like one of the 1%, and they say, well, I want you to do this. And they throw some money at me, I'll say, no, I ain't doing it because not even that money. And they say, all right, they put a gun to my head, right? And then, I'm still like, nah, I ain't doing it. You just pull the trigger. That's power right there. Really power for really 99.999.3 part of the population is really just having leverage. Leverage in your life, a position of a strong negotiating position. Now, I know a lot of people think Rom's just some street dude out here, but, I've worked in professional capacities and stuff. And one of them was as a negotiator, and actually professionally trained as a negotiator, right? As a negotiator, you always want to be in a position of leverage. Like if somebody's offering you something, you can't just take it, but you got to be able to say, okay, well, hold up. You want me for this, right? So you want me to do this. What are you giving me? And you have a choice to say no, right? That's what you want. That's the type of power that anyone wants. You want a choice. When you're going for a job, you want a choice whether or not you take that job or you take something better, right? You want you go into a job and you want to be able to say, well, you need to start me off at a highest rate, right? Like there was a job I had one time, right? And I started off at minimum wage. And I kept minimum wage. I was at minimum wage for just 2 weeks because I was in a position where I had leverage. And I could say to them, hey, I got this other job and they paying more. Now, if y'all want to see me around here more, y'all gonna have to give me more money. So they promptly gave me more money. Or even on a job. I mean, you can have power on a job if you put yourself in a position where they can't really replace you easily or you're so valuable. That's power. That's control. So it's like you might not have ultimate control, but you want to be in a position of leverage. Like when you going, like if it's power, if you going to get a car, right? And you just don't have to take what they give you because you have the cash and you have the credit to get what you want. That's power, right? And as I mentioned in the last video where I was talking about the steps to power, you got basically 4 basic ones, right? You got 4 basic ones. Now, I had a detractor say, oh, this is a street nigga mentality, right? This is the worst advice. And I'm like, one, that person probably only heard, listen to one part where I talked about the physical piece. Like it or not, if you walking out here, you got to have, something that make them pause. Like a big enough dude or a dude who look like he's generating some power, he's even going to pause some police from stepping to him a certain way. He will even pause some police because they're going to think about it. And a lot of times, there's a lot of dudes who gotten on the physical thing. And I just want to cover this real quick. right? I knew, and I told this story before. I'm gonna tell it again, right? I remember I'm working at a gym because Rom had 1,000 jobs, right? It was snowing outside, right? And so there were some people looking out. But while it was snowing outside, there were some young thugs who were going to rob a liquor store that very night, standing around this dude's late model car, right? And this is one of the bodybuilders. That dude walked out in a snowstorm with nothing on but a tank top just to tell him to get away from his car. And now this is an engineer. This wasn't a thug. This was an engineer. That was power. These are two armed dudes. And a dude with a tank top on and muscular walked out there and tell him to step the fuck away from his car. And they did it. And when he came back in, he said, look, I just let them know what they got to deal with. Well, that's power, too, to get what you want, right? And then just having the knowledge, the more education you have, whether it's formal or informal, gives you a better position on dealing with stuff and knowing what your options are and what you can do. And of course, there's sexual power. I'm going to get more into the sexual power in the next video when I talk about power in women. But then having the ability to make money. Like myself, just on Monday, just sitting around, I figured out a way, like I got about 3 ways to get to $1 million. Just sitting around. That's what a hunter does. A hunter goes out there and get the resources, right? You know? That ability to make money and stuff, that's power. The ability to live life on your terms, that's the ultimate power. And see, that's the thing. You want as a man, or at least the men who follow me, some men cool with following other people and letting them up. You know what? I'm not going to challenge their manhood. If that's how they want to live, that's them. Seriously, that's them. I'm not going to argue with them or something. But if you following Rom's philosophy, if you following Uncle Rom, say, damn, Rom, Uncle Rom, I want to be like you. You try and put yourself in a position where you have autonomy over your own life and at least leverage. Like right now, I don't have to look for a job. My bills are paid through 2019, right? Because I got that leverage. And if I do, even if I say, you know what, for whatever reason, I want to get a job or something, I can, you know what, I don't have to like just take whatever, but I can hit up some people who paying some real money. I've had like 3 people offering like significant amount of money for me to work for them. But that's leverage right there. When you have a choice, you have control over it. But remember that one key word, choice. I don't have to. And that's when you got a level of power. You know, you don't have to do something. If you do it, it's because it's your choice. If you live someplace, it's your choice. If you drive a certain car, it's your choice. You know, as I'll discuss in the other, next thing, it's your choice what type of woman you want to deal with. And, it's even choice of even your associates or something. All right? Because I'm going to tell you what, if you're in a position where you don't have that leverage, you don't have that power, you're always at the whim of somebody else. Now, I've been on jobs where, and ultimately I can work on a job because I'm that type. I'm not going to like hold my tongue just for somebody else's bullshit. Because let's be real, if you're on most of these jobs, you got some manager on some bullshit. And I was always the type of person to let them know. I've lost count of how many shouting matches I got in with managers, or how many times I was about to go to a manager's jaw. And I know somebody saying, damn, Rom, you on some thug shit. No, I'm on some man shit. Because like I said, and I mentioned this before too, I knew a dude who was a grade 13 in the federal government, a black man who, because this white man said something to him wrong, bust him in the face. And he kept his job. So it's like, nah. If as a man, if you ain't ready to physically defend yourself, or if you ain't ready to fight for what you believe, that's just a waste. You might as well just put on the dress right there. If you ain't willing to physically die for what you believe and to stand up as a man, you might as well just put on a dress. Again, I might need to do a separate video on that because, see, I learned from the cat. I learned from the cat who was a grade 13 in the government who bust somebody in the face and kept his job because he wasn't putting up with that shit. But anyway, you want control over your life, and you want the ability to have control. And that's what every man should be striving for. Now, it's hard. Like I said, it's hard because there's always a bigger fish, but you want at least want some leverage. Even if you're dealing with a bigger fish, you can always say, you know what, I ain't going for your plan. Pull the trigger. And that's part of power, too, not being afraid to die. Now, I've lived with death since I was little, so, you know, quite familiar with the angel of death. You know, might have gave him some work. I'll let y'all interpret that. So, anyway, right? Control over your life. That's ultimately what it's all about. All right? Leverage. You know, I can't control the interest rates out here. I can't control the speed limit. But I can control my reaction to it. I got leverage when I'm dealing with it. So anyway, that's what it's all about. Anyway, y'all, that's it for today. I'll talk to you later. Peace.